Sometimes I just hate adulting. Anyway, let's drink this here seltzer and talk about my most disappointing reads of 2021. I almost said 2022. Don't speed up time, Alyssa. It's going fast enough. All right. So I always like watching people's videos where they talk about their most disappointing reads, but I've never, to my knowledge, made one. So we're going to make one today. Sorry, I'm just going to pull up my list because I've been trying to get like organized on my Kindle here. Not my Kindle. What is this thing called? It's an iPad. I've been trying to use my iPad more for like note taking and stuff. I have 6 books that I wrote down that came to mind as like the most disappointing reads that I had in 2021. Now, these are not the books that got the lowest rating necessarily, but they are the books that I had high hopes for and then they totally disappointed me. Like they let me down and I felt gypped by the end of them. So, I mean, a couple of these you can probably guess. I mean, obviously Nosferatu. I did a whole reading vlog on this. Nosferatu is very high on the list of disappointments. I have been seeing it around for a while now and touted as like some great horror book or classic or new classic to horror or just like a must read if you like horror fiction. And like I thought I like horror fiction, but I'm beginning to wonder if I just like gothic horror. So I am kind of going on a little dive down the rabbit hole of horror and trying out a few different classics throughout, every couple months to see what exactly do I like in the horror fiction genre. But if you really want to know all of my thoughts on why I did not like Nosferatu, you can watch the reading vlog. I'll put it up there somewhere. But it was a painful read for me. I really didn't appreciate the writing. It wasn't like atmospherically scary in any way. It was just like make you uncomfortable. And I just didn't like how they portrayed women. And I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. I don't like Stephen King. Why am I surprised that I don't like his son's writing? I shouldn't be. I really feel like I'm going to try to go through the things I really have talked about before on this channel, and then we will go into the couple that I don't know if I've really broken down for you guys. The next one I have on here is Priest by Sierra Simone. I know this is like a romance classic, not classic, but like cult favorite in the taboo romance community. And the taboo part wasn't what bothered me about it, and it wasn't even the writing. It was in terms of like the smut's very good, but I almost like couldn't take this book seriously at all, and 2, like the characters just weren't believable, and I still need my romance to have a plot outside of banging that's actually like a developed plot, not like a loosely framed structure, like just to give it the false idea or like this framework to make it seem like there's a plot, but really the whole point of the whole book is to just have the 2 characters bangity bang bang as much as possible. Like I need a little bit more to keep me interested. I don't know what that says about me, but I do. I can't just read pure freaking smut. I need more to my smut to keep me engaged. Also, the characters weren't believable for me. So I didn't believe that our main character was a priest. I didn't believe his reasonings for being a priest. I just didn't believe any of it. Like he wasn't even a good priest. It was like he was a priest just to make it taboo. He could have been anything. He could have been the king of a motorcycle gang. He could have been a financier. He literally could have been anything, and it would have been more believable than him being a priest. Yeah, I was expecting a lot more enjoyment out of it, but mostly I was like kind of laughing and a little bit in disbelief because like, I don't know. I know that there's going to be people that hate that I just said all this about the priest because I know like a lot of people like it, but like it just disappointed me. It wasn't like it was bad. I was just like, what? Anyway, so yeah, that's that. I know I've talked about it at least once before. So the next book I want to talk about is What Big Teeth, which was a YA kind of like gothic horror that came out this year. It's by Rose Zabo. And I was expecting it to be not confusing and really good. I mean, the cover is absolutely stunning. I have unhauled this book. I've unhauled most of these or I borrowed them, so I don't have them anymore. But so this is a thrilling debut, and it's a dark, thrilling novel, because they've used thrilling twice in this sentence, about a teen girl who returns home to her strange wild family after years of estrangement, perfect for fans of Wilder girls. I think there's a little bit of body horror, but really, like, this whole book is just confusing. Like, I don't know. It was a weird freaking book, and it didn't even make any sense, and I couldn't. Eleanor Zarin has been estranged from her wild family for years. When she flees boarding school after a horrifying incident, she goes to the only place she thinks is safe, the home she left behind. But when she gets there, she struggles to fit in with her monstrous relatives who prowl the woods around the family estate and read fortunes in the guts of birds. Eleanor finds herself desperately trying to hold the family together in order to save them all. Eleanor must learn to embrace her family of monsters and tame the darkness inside of her. Exquisitely terrifying, no. Beautiful, strange, yes. This fierce gothic fantasy will sink its teeth into you and never let go. No, I barely remember it. I just remember being absolutely disappointed in this book. I just honestly didn't care. And I felt like it should have had some sort of ultimate meaning, and it just didn't. Like, I felt so unsatisfied at the end of it. I was like, why? Why did I waste my time on this book? It was so bad. Yeah, like there were too many questions left unresolved. It was almost like a draft. I feel like it could have gone through one more draft and it would have been better. Like way better. And I didn't like it, which is really disappointing because the cover is stunning. The cover is banging. I will give 2021 one thing. The covers that came out in 2021 were abso-freaking-lutely beautiful. They were perfect. They were amazing. However, a lot of the YA was just so disappointing and I couldn't. And I think I'm going to be going down the same road with this one. Problem with a lot of these disappointing reads is that ultimately they became forgettable for me, and the only thing I remember is how disappointed I was. How disappointed I was with the story overall. Like when I was done, that was the lasting memory. And the same goes for Persephone Station by Stina Licht. I think I'm saying that wrong. But this came out this year as well. It has another beautiful cover. I mean, this is a Hugo Award nominated author. There's a lot of things going for it. I mean, it's supposed to be for fans of The Mandalorian. You've got space, you've got lesbians, you've got weird and strange narratives that are also supposed to have an underlying meaning and discussion about like Native peoples and rights and all of that. But at the end of the day, the writing was just so distracting that I didn't get invested in any of the characters, and I didn't care one iota about them. So that even when certain people died, I can't even remember who died, but somebody dies, and I was like, wait, what? Oh, that's not how you're supposed to feel. It was the kind of character you were supposed to be invested in, and you were supposed to care that they were dead, and I could have cared two shits about them. Could have cared less. And it's just really, really, really sad because I really, really wanted to love this so, so much because it just sounded like everything I would love, and it just disappointed me. Also, it had so many dialogue tags that it was distracting. It was absolutely distracting. It was so distracting. I couldn't handle it. There was actual stylistic writing things that distracted me from the story too, and I just never could get into it. I couldn't. It's supposed to be a high stakes adventure, and there were no stakes. There were zero stakes. I was like, it did not give two shits. The entire book could have blown up, and I would have been probably more excited about it. It was awful. And I had such high hopes. I'll read you the summary in case for some reason you want to read this. Persephone Station, a seemingly backwater planet that has largely been ignored by the United Republic of Worlds, becomes the focus of a Serrano Arlov corporation as the planet has a few secrets the corporation tenaciously wants to exploit. Rosie, owner of Monk's Bar in the corporate town of West Briner, caters to wannabe criminals and rich earther tourists of a sort at the front bar. However, exactly two types of people drink at Monk's back bar: members of the rather exclusive criminal classes and those who seek to employ them. Angel, ex-Marine and head of a semi-organized band of beneficent criminals, wayward assassins, and washed-up mercenaries with a penchant for doing the honorable thing, is asked to perform a job for Rosie. What this job reveals will affect Persephone and put Angel and her squad up against an army. Despite the odds, they are rearing for a fight with Serraro Orlov Corporation. For Angel, She knows that once her honor is lost, there is no regaining it. That doesn't mean she can't damn well try. I just was so let down. The next one I have on here is probably is an older backlist title that a few of us read together. I just couldn't, and I've heard so many amazing things about it, and it was so disappointing. And that was Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield, who is supposed to be a very good writer and a very well-loved and beloved writer in the literary fiction space. Here's my review I wrote on Goodreads. I said, I'm giving 1 star for the writing and 1 star for Juliet Stevenson being a kick-ass narrator, because she is. But the book was so messy. It was so convoluted, the story. It was trying so hard to have a deep meaning and have the narrative follow this like flowing river as like symbolism. And it was just trying so dang hard. And half the characters had very similar names, so you almost didn't know who you were talking about. And like they were just some weird choices that were made about how they talked about race. And it was just overall very confusing and terrible. And if I hadn't been reading it with other people, I would have DNF'd it because I was just hoping it would get better, and it never did. I went down this long ass river and it never got better. It never got any fucking better. And the idea is that this is a story about like stories, and I like that kind of stuff. But nope, nope, nope. I'll give you, oh God, this is a long one. On a dark midwinter's night in an ancient inn on the River Thames, an extraordinary event takes place. The regulars are telling stories to while away the dark hours, and when the door bursts open on a grievously wounded stranger. In his arms is the lifeless body of a small child. Hours later, the girl stirs, takes a breath, and returns to life. Is it a miracle? Is it magic? Or can science provide an explanation? These questions have many answers, some of them quite dark indeed. Those who dwell on the riverbank apply all their ingenuity to solve the puzzle of the girl who died and lived again. Yet, as the days pass, the mystery only deepens. The child herself is mute and unable to answer the essential questions. Who is she? Where did she come from? And to whom does she belong? But answers proliferate nevertheless. 3 families are keen to claim her. A wealthy young mother knows the girl is her kidnapped daughter, missing for 2 years. A farming family reels from the discovery of their son's secret liaison, stand ready to welcome their granddaughter. The parson's housekeeper, humble and isolated, sees the child the image of her younger sister. But the return of the lost child is not without complications, and no matter how heartbreaking these past losses, no matter how precious the child herself, the girl cannot be everyone's. I'm already bored. Each family has mysteries of their own, and many secrets must be revealed before the girl's identity can be known. Once Upon a River is a glorious tapestry of a book that combines folklore and science, magic and myth, not mist. Suspenseful, romantic, and richly atmospheric. Perhaps it's atmospheric. The beginning of this novel will sweep you away on a powerful current of storytelling, transporting you through worlds, both real and imagined, yes, to the triumphant conclusion. It ain't triumphant, it's just, I was happy it was over, whose depths will continue to give up their treasures long after the last page is turned. It was terrible. I will literally never get those hours back in my life. So the last book I wanted to talk to you guys about was actually one that I DNF'd and then gave another try, and I still am disappointed. I just don't hate it as much as I did when I DNF'd it. And that book is Atlas 6. This is a much loved book in the TikTok world. It's by Olivia Blake, and it's got a lot of hype. Tor picked it up and is now re-releasing it in 2022. And I'm curious to know if they're going to be doing any editing in this, and if book 2 will be better as a result of having Tor behind the author. Because what I liked about Atlas 6, I liked the idea. I liked what she was attempting to do with all of these characters and these secret societies and their magic systems and the secrets that are being kept and the elements of like space and time travel. There's like a quantum physics element that is really interesting and incredibly smart. But I questioned the execution of this story. It was very lacking to me. And that's what made it incredibly boring. There was so much setup, and I understand why you needed so much setup, because there are like almost 11 or something like that main characters in this book, or at least characters that play a really pivotal role in the story. And she has to develop each of these characters over the course of what is actually quite a short book. And it would have been more interesting. I just feel like the world building could have been better. And done in a way that was more compelling and got more done in less time, if that makes any sense, so that you don't end up being bored. I was like 100 or so pages in before it started to get even remotely interesting. And by the end, it is interesting. There's a twist at the end that makes you want to know more about the story, but the amount of work you have to put in to care about these characters is just crazy to me. And maybe it's because it doesn't read like it's supposed to be, like a light fantasy that has a really soft magic system that like you don't need a lot of world building for, that's more like plot driven and you just kind of like go along and all that. This feels like it needs more. This feels like it needs to be written by like a great epic fantasy science fiction writer. And I just don't know if at this point in time, Olive Blake is a great science fiction fantasy writer. Doesn't mean that she can't get there. So I'm really curious. So I was disappointed, but this is the only one of these six books where I'm like, I'm not writing anybody off for anything because I want to know where the series goes from here. Because now that it's been picked up by one of my favorite publishers and one of the big time fantasy publishers, I want to see how this book continues and this series continues to evolve. Is it going to stay the same because the publishers don't want to upset the book talk hype and that following? Or are they going to try to beef it up and make it even better so they can capture more market share, more audience, all of that? So I'm really curious about the Atlas 6. I'm not quite done with it yet as a series, but I definitely have reservations. I will see where I am at book 2, which is a scary thing because book 2 can often be, especially if this is going to be a trilogy. I don't know if this is going to be a trilogy, but if this is going to be a trilogy, book 2 can be a big stumbling point in a series because it can become the book that is setting up for the final, hurrah of the series. And I don't know. But I am, like I said, I am very hopeful that Tor will do what they do best and will help make this an amazing, or as amazing as possible, fantasy series. I gotta say, I was very disappointed though, because I really wanted, because there's some really cool elements in this story. There really are some great things. It felt like it was a draft, like a late draft, but like really not quite there. It really needed to be beefed up. I mean, this could have easily have been a much larger book that covered the same arc, but as it stands, it left me unsatisfied. So those are all 6 of my most disappointed reads of the year. And I actually think I only truly have 6 really disappointing reads. I have a bunch of books I just really didn't like, but I didn't have high hopes for them going into it. So I wasn't disappointed. I was just kind of like, well, this sucked. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know down below if you've read any of these, what your thoughts are. What books disappointed you this year? Like, what did you have your hopes up for and it just totally let you down? And why? If you feel so inclined, I'd love for you to subscribe. If you're a new subscriber, say hi. I've gotten a few of you, I think because I did that World Toppers thing with Jess Owens and company a few weeks ago. I think there's still some people coming over from World Toppers. So hello, welcome to this crazy world of my brain and my little corner of the internet. And yeah, say hi so I can say hi to you. Otherwise, I will see you guys in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. I'm in a weird mood. So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building chemistry. I don't think I ever want to go